Here, a set of AIBE style questions on important case laws I am giving. Which case established the basic structure doctrine in India? So here it's given Golaknath versus State of Punjab, Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, Indira Nehru Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, Minerva Mills versus Union of India. The answer is Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala of 1973. In which case was the right to privacy declared a fundamental right under the Constitution? So it's given here Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, Puttu Swami versus Union of India, A.K. Gopalan versus State of Madras, Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. Answer is Puttuswamy versus Union of India. That is right to privacy declared as a fundamental right. The doctrine of prospective overruling was first adapted in India in. So here the answer is Golaknath versus State of Punjab. Already we learnt Kesavananda Bharati versus State of Kerala, where the basic structure doctrine was established. Okay. So here the prospective overruling was first adopted in India through Golaknath versus State of Punjab case law. Coming to criminal law, in which case did the Supreme Court lay down guidelines for arrest to prevent misuse of power under Section 498A IPC? Answer is Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. So, first understand the question before writing the answer. In which case did the Supreme Court lay down guidelines to arrest to prevent misuse of power under Section 498A? This section is cruelty of husband, against the cruelty of the husband. Answer is Arnesh Kumar versus State of Bihar. The rarest of rare doctrine for awarding the death penalty was laid down in Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab. So this is the rarest of rare doctrine for awarding the death penalty. Bachchan Singh versus State of Punjab. Which case laid down the guidelines on custodial death and compensation? This is regarding the custodial death and compensation. Answer is Neelabati Behera versus State of Orissa. Neelabati Behera versus State of Orissa. Coming to civil law, in which case did the Supreme Court define the term public policy under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act? Answer is ONGC versus Saw Pipes Limited. So, here the Supreme Court defined the term public policy under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act through case law ONGC versus Saw Pipes Limited. Which case clarified the concept of absolute liability in India? Simple. MC Mehta versus Union of India. That is oleum gas leak case. That is oleum gas leak case. MC Mehta versus Union of India. Which case struck down section 66A of the IT Act as unconstitutional? Shreya Singh versus Union of India. Shreya Singhal versus Union of India. The Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality in India in Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India. Answer is Navtej Singh Johar versus Union of India. Okay, I am continuing from the constitutional law regarding the fundamental rights and doctrines, which case laid down the test of reasonableness for restriction under Article 19. Test of reasonableness for restrictions under Article 19. Answer is State of Madras versus VG Roe. So this is reasonable restriction test. In which case did the Supreme Court expand the scope of Article 21 to include right to live with dignity? So here the answer is Francis Corale Mullin. The court said life includes dignity under Article 21. Francis Corale versus Mullin. Francis Corale Mullin. Which case introduced the concept of procedure established by law being subject to fairness and reasonableness? Maneka Gandhi. So, due process interpretation. Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India. So, this case established the concept of procedure established by law being subject to fairness and reasonableness. The right to education as a fundamental right, Article 21A, was recognized in Unni Krishnan versus State of Andhra Pradesh, Mohini Jain versus State of Karnataka. Both A and B. Education as part of right to life, which case is known for striking down the NJAC Act as unconstitutional. Supreme Court Advocates on Record Association versus Union of India, 2015. The court said judicial independence upheld. Which case dealt with secularism as part of the basic structure? SR Bommai versus Union of India. Secularism is the part of the basic structure. Doctrine of eclipse was applied in Bikaji Narayan Dakras versus State of MP, Madhya Pradesh. Post-constitutional invalidity. About the post-constitutional invalidity. Doctrine of severability was explained in State of Bombay versus FN Balsara about the separation of valid and invalid parts. Guidelines on arrest and detention to prevent torture were laid down in. So, this is from the criminal law. Guidelines on arrest and detention to prevent torture were laid down in D.K. Basu versus State of West Bengal. So, arrest safeguards, about the arrest safeguards. Principle of mens rea as essential for criminal liability was discussed in Nathulal versus State of MP about the intention requirement. In which case did the Supreme Court commute the death penalty of convicts due to delay in execution? Shatrughan Chauhan versus Union of India. That is, delay is nothing but cruelty. Which case dealt with the admissibility of narco analysis, polygraph, and brain mapping. Selvi versus State of Karnataka. Violation of self incrimination. Right to free legal aid in criminal cases was recognized in Hussaina Cartoon versus State of Bihar. Hussaina Cartoon versus State of Bihar. That is legal aid for under trials. These case laws are from the civil and property law. In which case was the rule against perpetuity discussed? Tagore versus Tagore. Property law restriction. About the property law restriction. That is rule against perpetuity discussed. In which case did the court hold that tenants cannot claim ownership merely by long possession? State of Haryana versus Mukesh Kumar. So, tenants cannot able to claim ownership if they have been as tenant in a rented house. About the adverse possession limits, doctrine of lis pendens was discussed in Bellamy versus Sabine. Pending litigation binds property rights. Coming to family law, the landmark Shabano case dealt with Shabano versus Muhammad Ahmad Khan about the maintenance rights. So, here the answer is right to maintenance under section 125 CRPC for Muslim women. Triple talaq was declared unconstitutional in Shayarabano versus Union of India about the instant triple talaq which was banned. The case which prohibited bigamy under the guise of conversion is here the answers both A and B. Conversion not to avoid monogamy law. Sharla Mudgal versus Union of India. Lily Thomas versus Union of India. Right of daughters to inherit equally in Hindu co-partnership property was affirmed in answer is all of the above. Hindu Succession Act applied equally. Vinita Sharma case versus Rakesh Sharma. Prakash versus Pulavati. Danama versus Amar. Environmental law. Polluter pays principle was applied in Vellore Citizens Welfare Forum versus Union of India. Polluter to bear cost. Right to a healthy environment as part of Article 21 was recognized in Subhash Kumar versus State of Bihar, MC Mehta versus Kamalnath, Indian Council for Environment Legal Action versus Union of India. Answer is all of the above. Which case applied the public trust doctrine? MC Mehta versus Kamalnath, natural resources as public trust. In which case was sexual harassment at workplace guidelines given? That is Visakha guidelines. Visakha versus State of Rajasthan. Workplace safety for women. Compulsory retirement principles were discussed in Union of India versus Colonel J.N. Sinha. Coming to intellectual property rights, first Indian case on copyright infringement. First Indian case on copyright infringement. R.J. Anand versus Deluxe Films. Idea versus expression doctrine. Case recognizing sound marks as trademarks in India. Shield mark BV versus Just Kist. Sound as trademark. Coming to tort law and compensation, in which case was the principle of strict liability first applied in English law? Raylands versus Fletcher, strict liability rule. Absolute liability in India was established in MC Mehta versus Union of India, oleum gas leak. Neighbor principle in negligence was laid down in Donaghy versus Stevenson, duty of care. In which case did the Supreme Court award compensation for a violation of Article 21? Rudul Shah versus State of Bihar, unlawful detention compensation from the administrative and service law. Principle of proportionality in administrative action recognized in Om Kumar versus Union of India. Proportionality test. Bias rule. Nemo judex in causa sua discussed in AK Krupak versus Union of India about the administrative fairness. Adi alterum partum rule discussed in Maneka Gandhi versus Union of India, Union of India versus Tulsiram Patel, Mohinder Singh Gill versus Chief Election Commissioner. That is all of the above. Right to be heard. Doctrine of pleasure applied in Union of India versus Balbir Singh, BP Singhal versus Union of India, Union of India versus Tulsi Ram Patel. That is all of the above. About the government service termination from evidence law. In which case did Supreme Court discuss the test for dying declaration reliability? A and C about the admissibility principles. Kushal Rao versus State of Bombay, Lakshman versus State of Maharashtra. Leading case on admissibility of extrajudicial confession. State of Rajasthan versus Raja Ram. Extrajudicial confession value. In which case did Supreme Court hold that the burden of proof in criminal cases lies on the prosecution? Woolmington versus DPP, Kaliram versus State of Himachal Pradesh. That is both A and C. Prosecution must prove guilt. So Supreme Court hold that the burden of proof in criminal cases lies on the prosecution. Leading case on hostile witnesses. Satpal versus Delhi administration about the hostile witness testimony. Coming to human rights and social justice, right to shelter as part of Article 21 was recognized in all of the above. That is Chemeli Singh versus State of UP, Olega Tellis versus BMC, Shanti Star Builders versus Narayan Kimalal Totame. Case that banned child labor in hazardous industries is MC Mehta versus State of Tamil Nadu about the child labor prohibition. Right to speedy trial recognized in all the above cases. That is Husseinra Cotton versus State of Bihar, Sheila versus Union of India, A.R. Antule versus R.S. Nayak. Right to die with dignity upheld in all of the above about the passive euthanasia allowed. Common cause versus Union of India, Aruna Shahbag versus Union of India, Gyan Kaur versus State of Punjab. Case dealing with ban on liquor advertisements is Hamdard Dawakana versus Union of India about the commercial speech limits. Case that recognized commercial speech as part of freedom of speech is Tata Press Limited versus MTNL about the advertisements protected. Doctrine of legitimate expectation explained in all of the above. That is the Union of India versus Hindustan Development Corporation. Navjyoti Cooperative Group Housing Society versus Union of India. Food Corporation of India versus Kamadhenu Cattle Feed Industries. Doctrine of promissory estoppel applied in Union of India versus Anglo-Afghan agencies. Motilal Palampat Sugar Mills versus State of UP. State of Punjab versus Nestle India Limited. All of the above. That is promise binding on government. Case holding that emergency powers cannot be misused to dismiss state governments. That is SR Bomme versus Union of India. About the judicial review of Article 356. Case that laid down guidelines on misuse of preventive detention laws. Rekha versus State of Tamil Nadu. Alka Subhash Gadia versus Union of India. Case that struck down Sabarimala temple ban on women. Indian Young Lawyers Association versus State of Kerala about the gender equality in worship. Thank you.